we're at a fork in the road. And the part of the problem is within Iran, you have multiple parties seeking leadership. It's never clear who actually is calling the shots. This is not going to be a straight line. The president's made it very clear they've got two options: a negotiated settlement, which will give up the enriched uranium and give up any hope of having a nuclear capability and stop the terrorist financing, or they can feel the wrath.
Iran's leadership is in question. President Trump extending the ceasefire due to a seriously fractured Iranian government, giving only a short window to submit a unified proposal for talks in Pakistan. Welcome to the Big Money Show, everyone. I'm Jackie DeAngelis, along with my delightful co-host, and with us for the hour, Kudlow host Larry Kudlow. Thank you, Larry, for being here. We're watching these markets as well. They are rebounding, but there's still some uncertainty among investors on whether a long-term deal can actually be reached. Larry, I will ask you this. You know my position on this. I think you can go back and forth. I appreciate diplomacy and trying to work things out. But when is enough enough? And when do you actually finish this? Because with the fractured elements of this regime not being able to agree on some of these terms that are essential for the president, when do you call it? And just go in there, do the bombing you need to do, and finish?
Well, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I think you've got this back and forth uncertainty, tomorrow or 3 days or 5 days. I'm not sure how helpful that is. The president wants to leave the diplomacy open. I appreciate that. The military, General Keane said last night, I believe it was on Sean Hannity, that we have actually double the military assets today that we had at the beginning of this war. So Iran is, playing fast and loose with their own existence. What the planners are planning, I don't know. What the negotiators are negotiating, I don't know. I think it's got to come to an end at some point. I wanted to mention, just if I may, a couple things. Senator David McCormick, who is a longtime personal friend of mine, is a brilliant guy. He's a rising star in the Senate. I just want to say that because he actually was on the show to talk about Kevin Warsh. He introduced Warsh at the Banking Committee hearings yesterday. But he's just one of the brightest, upbeat people I know. He's a rising star. He's a future Republican leader, future presidential candidate. Can't say enough about him and his wife, Dina. The other thing I want to say is, there are things out there that loopholes that I want the financial. A financial death would be wonderful for this Iranian story. Think about that: an economic death, a financial death. Starve out the IRGC and so forth. Just starve them out if that's possible. But there's some loopholes left. The Carg Island loophole is very important. I don't know if anybody read the New York Post article. I believe it was a retired naval person. Very good. Carg Island, you want to bust them, you want to starve them, you want to end them economically. It covers, 190,000 personnel, 1.5 million barrels a day, $140 million worth. That's still out there. We're not hitting that, okay? The naval blockade is hitting a lot, but we're not hitting that. The second one that this guy mentioned, I want to just raise, on the high seas, mostly near China, Iranian oil estimated at roughly 200 million barrels of oil. So at $100, that's $20 billion worth. So could we negotiate that with China? Perhaps we could. I mean, maybe they would be willing in return for some tariff relief. The president is going to go to China, in a week or two? So those are little loopholes on the financial starvation. The other thing I'd love to see, talked about this before, is not just freezing overseas assets, but actually seizing the assets. These guys, what's his name, Vahidi, and the whole crowd of them have been robbing, right? They've been robbing Iran for years, okay? And they live a high life. And they have bank accounts in the UAE and Turkey and Oman and all these other places, Qatar, okay? So if those banks are holding any Iranian money accounts, okay, they should be seized. Okay, right, just take it away. Put them in an escrow account in the Treasury Department. The countries themselves off the SWIFT ledger, off the New York Fed wire, so there's no transactions. This is the so-called secondary sanctions. I just want to make sure that, you know, Vahidi and all these other guys don't get a nickel if we can stop it. And I want Iran not to get a nickel if we can stop it. And by the by, if, you know, you're going to have to look at Carg Island again, right? Because they are at the point now where they're going to have to shutter the oil operations, okay? That's very, very important.
Because the blockade is causing financial distress,
well,
right?
They can't get the oil out.
Actually, it's more a storage problem.
Okay.
The storage is full. And once you start shuttering it, you don't shutter it for 3 days and turn it back on. You shutter it for months and months and months, which is terrific because that hurts them economically. Also. And finally, you know, on the economic financial side, again, look, if these blockades and seizures and whatnot, if they're strong enough, let them go. We may not negotiate an agreement, fine, but those are the key things, and eventually the civilian population is going to revolt. Actually, eventually, the different factions are going to start fighting each other, too.
I have to be patient.
Yes.
I have to be more patient.
Let the financial, I'll call it financial and economic starvation, let it work. And I'm sure the president knows that. I mean, he absolutely knows that. And he himself has been quoting numbers. You know, he says it's $500 million a day, whatever, it's $435 million a day. But the point is, that will work. And let it go a couple weeks. You'll see a greatly diminished Iran. That's what I think is happening here. The rest of it, on the initial question you asked, I don't know what the president wants to do. Combat is ready. I mean, we are twice as strong as we were when this started 6 weeks ago.
Can the market confidence, Taylor, stay high like this if this were to go a few more weeks and the president takes this tack of economic strangulation? Listen, I don't care how we get to the end result as long as we get there. But can the market take it? Can oil take it? Can consumers take it?
For now. The market, I think, has been looking through this, looking at really strong earnings and saying, I'm confident that this thing will be over with, and I'm confident that eventually the Strait of Hormuz has to be opened, right? Eventually, this thing has to open. It's a matter of time and how we get there. I talk about in 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, those 6-month Brent futures were at $100 a barrel. The market immediately knew this is going to be a long-term thing that will not get solved. Brent futures 6 months out from now are at $80 a barrel. So the market already looking through this and saying, we think that there will be a resolution that is much faster than when Russia invaded Ukraine. And the good thing about this, and maybe Larry agrees or disagrees, the economy is on much stronger footing coming into this.
Yes.
We were not in an aggressive hiking cycle by the Federal Reserve, and nor do we have to be, because inflation and the economy are in a much better position. So that is sort of the difference.
Do you see the Red Book sale?
The 70s,
the Red Book sales.
2022.
We know the retail sales were great, but there was gasoline in there. Right. If I said take it out, the control group was great. But the Red Book sales, I was reading Yardeni this morning, Red Book sales, which do not have gasoline sales, right, which would be inflated by the higher price. But that's running almost 7% year on year. And the ISMs are very strong. And the durable goods are strong. The basic business capex. It's fascinating how our economy is holding up. And actually, the increase in gasoline and related energy costs has been pretty much offset by the refunds from the One Big Beautiful Bill, et cetera. So it's fascinating. You know, we
were kind of hoping those refunds might not have to offset gas, but I see what you're saying there. I mean, it's cushioned the blow.
It's a cushion. Yeah, I mean, we're not getting sunk by $100 oil. That's all. That's
the only
point.
Other
years ago we would have been sunk.
Good news is, and Dagan can correct me, but it looks like we had just had a 20-year bond auction. It wasn't horrible. Actually, yields were higher, and they come down a little bit, you're mostly flat on the day. So as long as there continues to be strong demand for those long duration assets, particularly a 20-year, then I think that's the signal the market, the fixed income market, telling you we're okay.
We're buying America.
Double digit. Did you say double digit profits? Did I hear? Did I miss that?
As of earnings,
you must have. You wouldn't have missed the
early
earnings, the
this
importance
week,
of earnings.
I had 30% earnings so far. I mean, it's early days, but it's high.
Second quarter forward earnings consensus now running about 15%. Those are big numbers.
It's a mother's milk right there.
They are. There's a lot of mother's milk. And by the way, profits, not only the mother's milk of stocks, profits are the lifeblood of the economy. Economy can't run if profits are sinking, and they're not sinking. And people are not paying any attention to this. I mean, it really is a strong economy. It's fascinating.
They're paying a little bit of attention.
Well, Larry, the market wouldn't have rebounded if people weren't paying attention to it. Good gravy.
Well, you're right. I'm saying the media. The media doesn't want to acknowledge how strong the economy is.
No, that they definitely don't.
You know, you persuaded me, though, Larry. You loved the blockade. You were the guy who came out right away and said, this is brilliant, okay? And I agree. And Dagan was on the economic side of this for Iran before I was, so I'm definitely not taking credit for that. But you love the blockade. I kind of wonder, we're talking about this 3 to 5 day ceasefire thing and all this stuff. Why don't we just let the blockade run its course? Why are we even talking about end dates? The blockade can both starve Iran and help us open up a channel for the flow of goods that we want to see going through. Why don't we just tell Iran the blockade is there? Unless you come to us with a great deal, it's status quo, and you are going to shrivel and die.
And so far, it's worked. It's airtight so far. And when Jackie asked me, I mean, that was the inference. Let the blockade run its course. Pick it up if you want to have a banking freeze or a seizure of assets. But it's a money thing. It's a money thing. And that may be the best solution. I mean, there's so much that I don't know with respect to the military planning and the intelligence. But I'm just saying the economic starvation, financial squeeze argument will have a major impact. They're not going to meet payroll. Okay, they're not. I guarantee stuff we don't know, but it doesn't take long. If there's no oil money flowing in, etc., they can sell some assets even on the high seas. They're not going to make payroll.
I also keep saying you can't keep paying your terror proxies that cause trouble in the region too. But to Brian's point, I'm wondering if you think that. I mean, he's effectively, without saying anything about the blockade, he said the blockade is going to stay in place. He's making that point that we're going to continue to strangle you financially if you don't.
That's sort of my read, is that he's kind of saying, I like the blockade, I'm in no hurry. But I think, because Dagan hit this before I really cared about it, I was thinking military side. You were thinking economic side on this and how much money Iran was still making before the blockade. To me, that's a definitive turning point in this whole thing.
Right. The number that keeps getting thrown out, I don't know who came up with it. It maybe was but it's economic damages, which is not, it's a little amorphous. The actual amount of money that Iran was collecting in oil exports before the conflict started was 100 million barrels a day, $100 million a day in oil exports. After the Larry's making a face.
Here's the easy calculation.
These are the numbers. I have run them up and down and back.
435 million daily, which comes to about 150, 160 billion dollars annually, off of a budget which is guesstimated by the IMF at around $100 billion a year.
That's not from oil exports alone.
Well,
that is an economic calculation. I'm talking about money from oil exports, cold, hard cash.
Most
is $100 million a day before the war, and since the end of February, it's been $175 million a day. That's how much they've been collecting. And you could blockade that, but did we not extend the Russian oil sanctions relief? Yeah, we did as a nation. So why wouldn't Russia?
But we never enforced it. We never.
They're selling oil.
We never enforced the Russian.
Why
oil
wouldn't
blockade.
Russia aid and abet?
And most, I think, Dagan, you're.
Can I just finish my sentence?
I'm sorry.
Why wouldn't Russia aid and abet Iran? Why wouldn't China aid and abet Iran? Because China needs Iran to be able to export that very oil. It's its third largest producer.
Well,
China's, and 95% of Iran's oil goes to China, or did before the blockade. China needs the oil despite the giant strategic petroleum reserve it has.
But the blockade itself damages that Chinese incentive. We are in the whip hand now. We are controlling it. So China no longer has access to that. I mean, we have literally stopped the imports and exports of oil, which I would argue, by the way, is a much larger part of Iran's budget.
Are we willing to do
that
in perpetuity?
Well, I don't know what perpetuity means. I don't need to know what perpetuity means. I just need to know today this is the control the United States has taken. The United States will control the Persian Gulf in its entirety, including the Strait of Hormuz and other little straits. We will control that for the foreseeable future.
Until something happens.
That's all I know.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about perpetuity. I don't know about my own perpetuity. I'm just saying this is what American policy is, and I might add it's succeeding based on all the reports. The naval blockade is working. So that puts China on the back foot. And Trump is on the phone with Xi, and he may or may not go there in a week or two. I don't know whether that will happen or not. But you know, we have China over a barrel right now, so they're not going to budge. Russia, I haven't heard from Russia. I don't know. Russia might be trying to help in odd different ways. But doesn't Russia have its own problems? I mean, everything I read about Ukraine and what they're doing to Russia is fascinating. I mean, some people are saying Ukraine is now, they're on the front foot in that battle. I don't know enough about it, but it sure reads differently than it did a year or two ago. That's all I'll say on the Russian front. But I don't think Putin wants to pick a fight here in the Middle East. He's dead. His people are gone. Iran is gone. Whatever happens, whatever the precise endings of this war, Iran's capabilities and Iran's standing as a country will never be the same. They're finished. Syria is finished, okay? Even Lebanon and the Hezbollah is finished, okay?
Can I raise an issue, though?
So
you don't think
Russia has no Russia has no footing in the Middle East anymore, and China has no footing in the Middle East. The player in the Middle East is the United States. This is what Trump did in his first term, and he's finishing it in the second term. I'm sorry, please
No.
go ahead.
Does the U.S. help broker a deal to allow Iran's oil to flow to China?
Well, we will figure out whatever arrangements and complications in trade and foreign policy with China. They are interrelated. It's, by the way, why I believed IEPA was constitutional, but that's a separate segment. I'm just saying trade and foreign policy is inextricably tied together. I've made this argument so many times in the past year when this stupid lawsuit. But that's a whole, we have an agenda with China. And guess what? All of a sudden, I mean, the United States, may wind up being one of China's major oil and gas suppliers.
Ooh, it's fascinating, Larry. We're going to talk a lot more about it.
That is not completely off the chessboard, but that gives us certain advantages on the supply side.
Yes, indeed it does.
We got to go to a break. Coming up.